taking notes from nobody.
Your superstars have off games.
Follow us on social media at Celtics Talk Weekly.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Celtics Talk Weekly. Justin, how'd you like that little OG intro?
Season 1 vibes of Celtics Talk Weekly.
Right?
Is that
you
on
like
purpose,
that?
or did you just accidentally play it?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. The current one is not in our files, so I don't know where that went. So I decided last minute, let's just roll with the old one. Kind of liked it, gave it a little throwback vibes. Kind of felt like Marcus Smart was still a Celtic, but he's not.
Yeah.
Guys, before I get started, I just want to say welcome back. It's been a minute. Once the postseason kind of ended, we took a second to just kind of detox a little bit. Covering the Celtics gets so tiring, especially the Celtics because they're so up and down all the time. So it's a long season. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with podcasts, getting guests, putting up content, right? Like there's a lot of work throughout 82 games and in 8 months. So we just kind of we like to take a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, regroup. And man, we're right back into it. However, one more quick thing. If you guys haven't already, go show some love to the merch drop, or at least just go check it out on the website. It will be linked down below on the YouTube version if you're watching this. If you're listening in on Spotify, which I know we have our fair share of Spotify and Apple podcast listeners, go check it out. Links in our bio on our Instagram. We worked really hard to put together some what we think are some cool and nice designs you guys can rock. If you're feeling it, go cop. If not, no big deal. We're gonna have another drop pretty soon where it's all new content or all new material. Hopefully, we drop something you guys like. So let's hop into it, Justin, because we got some things to talk about, and I think the big thing is Marcus Smart. The next big thing, Kristaps Porzingis, kind of the same thing, kind of not the same thing. I thought it would be fun, right, to talk about, before we get into the logistics of the trade, who won, who lost, salary, where do we go next, right? The analytical talking head side of us, right? Let's let the fan side of us come out first. Smart. When I say Marcus Smart to you, what would you say back to me? What words come to mind?
He is the true definition of what a Boston Celtic is. He is just the, I guess, core of this team over the last 10 years. Rob, it's funny. I remember when Marcus Smart was drafted in one of Smart's first games of his career. This was when Kevin Garnett was on the Nets. They both jumped for a loose ball. Smart actually dove on top of Garnett, whatever. They get up and Garnett looks at him and he kind of pats him on the back and he kind of talks with him a little bit. When Kevin Garnett left, it felt as if that was the heart and soul. Was Kevin Garnett our best player? No, but at the same time, he was kind of the core of the team. He kept the team together. He was the vocal. He was the leader on and off the court. And that's what you got with Marcus Smart for the last, 9-10 years. From an analytical standpoint, which we'll get to a little later on in the podcast, you might think it's a pretty solid trade going after and getting Kristaps Porzingis, the guy that we have been going after since essentially he's been drafted. But, seeing Marcus Smart leave, it's a very tough pill to swallow. It's very, very, very difficult. And he's kind of one of those players, Rob. Rob, how many times have I mentioned, and I'm not saying the Celtics are never going to win a championship again, but how many times have I mentioned I don't see a world where the Celtics don't win without Marcus Smart?
A lot.
How many times?
A lot.
The last 3 years, like a lot. So that when I realized that it was Smart going to, on the other plane in that deal, it hit me really hard, and it should hit Celtic Nation pretty hard. But, he is the definition of a Boston Celtic. He is a Celtic for life, and I'm sure he will be back in some capacity. I would say he would even come back and retire, even if it's at the end of his career. But what are your thoughts on it, Rob? Because I know you had similar thoughts as well.
Yeah. Smart is the reason I do what I do. The reason why I cover basketball, talk about the Celtics, played basketball, it mostly dates back to Marcus Smart. This guy made me fall in love with the game. A little bit younger, I just missed the real Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Rondo. Rondo kind of got me. I liked Rondo, but he didn't really make me fall in love with the game of basketball. That was Marcus Smart. So the trade definitely hit. Um, it was like it was really a moment where you sat there, and the last time I can think about something like that in my lifetime was the Isaiah Thomas trade back in 2017. But even still, IT wasn't drafted here. He was here for 2.5 years. The circumstances in which we dealt IT off was unfortunate because of what happened in the prior playoff run with the tragic passing of his sister and all he did for us through that. So that one hit a little bit different. But oh my God, Marcus Smart was just a warrior. Or a
I think
who's a
I,
warrior.
I think what really hit was the fact that, not necessarily us, but Smart has always for years been thrown in these trade talks, or
Yeah.
people will be, trade Smart, like he made he shot that stupid shot, whatever, whatever the
Sure.
case is.
Yeah, for sure.
And Marcus was never traded, right? So
Nope.
all of those talks were just talks.
Yep.
So when it actually happens, you kind of sit back and kind of reflect and be like, whoa, like what just happened? Um, I I really wonder, and I know again we're going to get into the analytics and the numbers and the what ifs later on, but I really wonder what it's going to be like now with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because you figure for the last 7 years, 6, 7, 8 years of their careers, it's been Marcus Smart guiding them along. Now there's no more Marcus Smart. Now we get a Derek White. We do get a Malcolm Brogdon, two great, phenomenal point guards, but we don't have that Marcus Smart. So it's going to be really interesting to not see how Smart adjusts to a new franchise in Memphis, but it's going to be interesting to see how a franchise adjusts without a guy like Marcus Smart, who essentially, again, the heart and soul of the team.
Yeah. And really, there is an interesting and exciting world lies past Marcus Smart as a
Right.
Celtics fan. Again, the heart, the soul, wasn't a champion, deserved to be a champion, worked his tail off, and something tells me that he'll be back. I don't think the Marcus Smart tenure in Boston is over. I think I could see Smart coming back and retiring here, whether it's playing a season or two. I don't think Jason Tatum says it, that they'll link up later down in the road. Hopefully that means it's in Boston. I could see it being
Take
in
him to
Boston.
Memphis.
But let's look at it from the analytical standpoint, right? From the like the talking head, I guess you could say, right? From the media standpoint, it was a hell of a trade.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, and again, this is the non-Celtics fan in me talking because I can't let my emotional ties to Marcus Smart cloud my judgment on what Smart was. Defensively, you're not going to get another guard in the NBA that can do what Smart does. That's a hit. No question. From the defensive guard standpoint, you lost a real dog. You filled in a gap in which you desperately needed at that big man position. And not only did you fill it, you potentially got one of the best big men probably the best big man on the market. Vooch just signed back with Chicago, so he wasn't available. Even still, Porzingis, in my eyes, is twice the player Nikola Vucevic is. What he can do defensively, what he can do offensively, Justin, it brings a whole new dynamic to the Celtics offense.
You are getting a guy that can give you 20 and 10, along with what, 3, 4, 5 assists a night. You are getting that type of guy, and you're putting him around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You're also putting him around a Robert Williams. Now, look, I get it. The big question is, are we really going to get that guy? Because that guy has a serious, serious injury issue. I totally understand that, and I totally get where those people are coming from, and that is such a valid an excusable point. But at the same time, I think just the opportunities here with Boston and Porzingis are endless. We've kind of been waiting for this type of thing to happen. How many years has Porzingis been on the Celtics radar? Like almost his entire career, as I mentioned earlier in the episode. So, it's a very good trade. And, I'm sure we'll talk about the draft later on in the episode. We're kind of getting the more obvious, the elephant in the room out of the way. But Brad Stevens was able to turn 1 first-round pick into 6 second-round picks, five of which are in the future as 6 they used on Jordan Walsh that night. So, that's Brad Stevens going to work, and I'm sure that was very difficult. I'm sure that was a very difficult conversation between him and Marcus Smart. But again, this is a total shakeup, Rob, of the roster. Just one move that was done in June. 2 weeks after the NBA Finals, 4 weeks after you got bounced from the conference finals. So, essentially, you go out and you look at the guy you got in return, and you absolutely have to be happy with what you got in return for Marcus Smart. For 110% agree with you on that.
I feel as if there's a new level that the Celtics team can unlock. And it's no diss to Marcus Smart, right? It's not. But Smart being here, there was an aspect to it where it kind of felt like we have reached our ceiling, where it was like Smart's here in the role in which Marcus Smart is playing is probably too big for what he can do, but he does it solid, and he's a great defender, and he's a goddamn dog, and he's such a likable guy where it's like, I'm okay with it. That's where I was at. I think that's where a lot of Celtics fans were at. You saw, again, I don't want to bash Marcus because he doesn't deserve it. But there were flaws in the offense that flowed around Marcus Smart at times. Those late game executions where he just slowed the ball down and milked the clock. That's a real problem on an offensive standpoint in a how the game operates as an NBA team. That's not a recipe for successful basketball. So right. I think it allows the ball to be in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hands more. They're going to have to work on their playmaking. I think Tatum is absolutely ready for that role. Jaylen Brown's got some work to do. I think he'll get there, Justin. But I think that it needed to happen because Smart's role was so big, and it's Smart. It's the 9-year vet. It's the 4th longest tenured player on a team in the league. It's the defensive player of the year. You let that guy do what he wants to do. And I think that's kind of what was holding Boston back.
Yeah, and I think now you get that whole new opportunity in such a positive way, right? We kind of were expecting a big shakeup. We didn't really know who it was going to be. There were talks about it being Jaylen Brown. There were talks about it being Marcus Smart, whether that be, maybe you look down at the bench and you saw Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, guys like that. But no, it was Smart, and we have to live with that. And we have to realize we have never had a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, at least in recent history. 7'3", can defend the rim. He could play around the perimeter, both defensively and offensively. He could just back down defenders and just little hook shot right over them. Like, we haven't seen anything like this. We're used to a 6'8", 6'9" Robert Williams strictly playing down in the post, or Al Horford stretching the floor, not really being able to post up, and he's getting older. So we're about to see something totally, totally different. And even go back to when we had Kelly Olynyk, who was a 7-footer and stretched the floor. Even with all due respect, even he's not on Porzingis' level. So I think, we're just about to see something entirely new. This is a shakeup, and I think you have to give Brad Stevens a lot of credit for this, Rob, in terms of, yes, you did get rid of your heart and soul, but at the same time, guess what? You have to take risks. You have to, I guess, I don't know if this sounds cliche, you might have to take a couple steps backwards to move forwards. So, hey, dude, I don't know what more to say. I'm very upset it was Marcus Smart, but I'm very intrigued that it's Kristaps Porzingis
how about
coming
this,
on the other end.
How about this, right? Our whole thing was let's find an Al Horford replacement. That was our thing this offseason, where it's like, all right, you got Grant kind of lingering in a potential sign and trade. Now there's reports that they're definitely Grant and Boston are going to attempt to work a deal out in which they can meet a middle ground to potentially bring him back. So it sounds like that's option one. Sign and trade will be option two if they can't mutually agree on a contract. So it's like, sure, you had Grant. Then you had Pritchard, who was available for that trade, where it's like, all right, well, maybe you move Pritchard. You explore the Pritchard market for a guy that can maybe do it for a year or two. You didn't really know. That was the big man Horford replacement, right? That's what every smart Celtics fan knew. That's where the Celtics problem lied. They did that. They did that, and not only did they just right, we were talking who the guys we're expecting were like a Bruce Brown type of player, a mid-level exception guy making $10 million who will come in and just do a solid job. Jeff Green, one of those types of guys. No, I mean, Brad went out and he got the best Al Horford replacement you can get.
Oh, 110%.
Defensively,
he was the best on the market in terms of, guys like Nikola Vucevic, who I don't know. And it's really important too that you look at it. Kristaps wants to be here. He has already said that he would not mind signing an extension back here in Boston. We're not going to get into it really financially right now. I'm sure we could say that for another time, but I don't know with this whole new CBA that we're going to be able to keep Jaylen Brown, extend Brown, and then extend Porzingis unless one of them is willing to take the pay cut. And I guarantee you it's not going to be Jaylen Brown. But that's a whole nother conversation this time of year next year. But for right now, I think, Rob, let me ask you this. Is the window closing for Boston?
No.
It's such a difficult question.
Not even close. You know why?
I'm not asking this, but I was asked this the other day.
No, I know. And my answer would be hell no, it's just opening. The reason being is that Jason Tatum is 25 years of age. 25 years. Is the Celtics window closing is a ridiculous question for someone to ask you. As long as the Celtics have Tatum, their window is wide open. Right? When you look at the expectations placed on Boston, it has been astronomically too high through the first 6 seasons of Tatum's playing career. Reason being, he got to this one game shy of the NBA Finals as a rookie. As much as you want to joke about his age and the only night, right? As much as you want to say that, that's Tatum set the standard early. Listen, I'm going to play at a really high level and I'm going to succeed, right? So let's look at the average superstar's first 7 seasons, right? Or 6. Tatum's entering his 7th, which is kind of gross to think about. But it's how that works. They don't win. Jokic, drafted in 2014, 9 years later, or 2015, I believe. 2015. 15. 8 years later, he's an NBA champion. He was a 2-time MVP, not making it out of the second round. And there was nothing said. You know why? Right. It's because if Jokic went to the Eastern Conference Finals as a rookie, it would be that would be the standard. So again, it's like you look as a Celtics fan, you look at the current situation that this team's in, and you look at this window. And the window for the Celtics is the next 10 years, as long as Jason Tatum's happy. Because again, the standard has been set too high for this team in that player. The expectations were too high. And I think that once he breaks through, he's going to get you one. The way the NBA is working is there's really no dynasty. The Nuggets aren't going to go back-to-back next year. It's going to be a new team. That's just how the league's working right now. If you go back to 2019, Raptors, Lakers, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets. 5 years, 5 teams. and you really don't see many repeats and teams making it. Which is a little concerning, right? Obviously, 19 and 22, you had the Warriors, the Heat. So you saw the Heat and the Warriors repeat. Other than that, there hasn't been a repeat yet. I think Boston can do it. But now Boston's window, even if Brown does walk, which he's not, and we're going to talk about that next, which is actually a good segue into that, Justin. The Jaylen Brown extension. Even if Brown were to walk, the Celtics window would still be open. But let's talk about Jaylen Brown here, because he's getting extended. He's not getting extended. He's getting traded. What do you think's happening?
I think Boston has made it clear they want Jaylen Brown back, and they want Jaylen Brown to be a part of the franchise moving forward as one of the faces of the franchise. I don't think he is a B anymore. I think he is a A1 or A2. I don't think he is a B. I also think that his problems that he has faced throughout his career, I understand that he's 26 and I understand he's been in the league 8 years, but his dribbling has been a problem since he was drafted. His free throw shooting has been a problem since he was drafted. Those are my two major struggles that, quite honestly, might have not been the reason why we got over the hump this year. Those are fixable. Those are absolutely fixable. Like, I get it. Jaylen Brown totally, excuse my language, but he shit the bed in Game 7 against the Miami Heat. But at the same time, I feel like because he's Jaylen Brown and because he's on the Boston Celtics and because of it was the big stage, that's why we talk about it. We talk about that singular performance. Just like last year in the NBA Finals, Jason Tatum stunk it up. But nobody was talking about the legacy games that he was before that. Nobody was talking about the Game 6s or the Game 3s or the Game 2s or the Game 1s against Brooklyn. Like, nobody was talking about that, right? I think you go out. I think you supermax Jaylen Brown or extend him, whatever it is. I think it's supermax. I think you go out and do it. And you ask me why. And people ask me why all the time. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you go after Damian Lillard? Okay, first of all, Jaylen Brown's been in the league 8 years. He has hear me? Am I lagging?
Yeah.
I was lagging. He's 26 years old. He's in the league 8 years. And on top of that, he's been to the conference finals how many times? 6, 5 or 6 to the NBA finals once. Why would you trade him when he has been one of the leaders consecutively to the Eastern Conference Finals with an NBA Finals appearance? And then you go after a guy like Damian Lillard, who's older and who has proven he cannot win.
Yeah, well, I think there's this idea that Boston's hit their ceiling, right? When actually, if you ask me, you could call me crazy. I think they've hit their floor, if that makes sense. I think their floor has shown, and that floor is I'm going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? We're going to have a shot every year. We're going to be there. Right. And if you ask me, you have your stars, and you're going to have a shot every year. I'm extending you. I think it's funny because I do think that there is so much conversation and rumors about Brown. The new one that's spreading all over Twitter now is the Darius Garland for Jaylen Brown conversation. Here's my stance on the Brown, and it's soundproof, and you're not going to break through it. Brown campaigned extremely hard all season long, doing countless interviews, right? Those interviews with Amika Andrews and with the Ringer and with like whoever it may be, those are planted by Jaylen Brown to get his name out there for the All-NBA ballot selecting, right? Getting your name out there means conversation starts. And when conversation starts about you, that's a good thing in terms of the media voting. Jaylen Brown campaigned all season long to achieve the All-NBA status for what? So that he couldn't sign that contract that huge contract that comes along with the All-NBA selection. No, I just wanted the pat on the back and the recognition. Come on. It's $100 million difference between what we can offer him and from what the next guy can offer him. Even if this guy wants out, it won't be right now. He will sign that extension that he worked so very hard to receive, and he's going to get it. And he's going to sign the 5-year. I could maybe see him taking a $20 million pay cut, maybe 5-year 270, opposed to the 291 that we can give him. I mean, to think we have to give Tatum a 307 the year after is just mind-boggling. Let's bring that word back, Justin. But back to Brown. It's like, why would you campaign, right? Why would you do that if you weren't going to sign the biggest incentive that came with campaigning? So the Celtics, they're going to sign him. They're going to extend him. They're going to pay him that money. He's going to stay here. They're going to have a great next season if everyone can stay healthy. And I think the Jaylen Brown leaving trade rumors will finally get put to rest. And that's big. That is huge. I think that's important moving forward. What I also think is important moving forward is taking another look into your guard depth, Justin, which is funny because we had too many. We went from not having enough guards to having too many guards to now, do we have enough guard play here? So obviously with Smart moving out, that slots White into the starting one. Which I freaking love. We both love that. That's not right. Like, we both love that. You slot White into the one. Assume Brogdon plays 6-man. Do you move Pritchard into the rotation? Yes, no. You still is Brogdon, White, and Brown enough, or do you need another guy?
I would love, if we're not going to keep Pritchard, I would love. And me and Fran were looking at the Orlando Magic roster because they are stacked with guards. They just drafted 2 more. I would love to go take a look at a guy like Jalen Suggs. I would absolutely love to go take a look at a guy like Jalen Suggs. Young player. He's a stud. You could slot him at the wing. You could. Probably not, but you could. He can shoot the ball. He can pass the ball. He can really do a lot of different things for you. He's a really gritty player. I mean, look, I don't know what this does to Peyton Pritchard because I don't know if this is – I don't know if we trade him right away. I don't know. Kind of Brad says, okay, like, let's see how this works. You know, now that Smart's gone, your opportunity is going to be there. The hell knows if Malcolm Brogdon is going to be able to stay healthy for the first 40 games of the year. Let's see what Peyton Pritchard does, what type of opportunities he gets, and then we'll go from there at the trade deadline. Yeah. I think that might be the approach. But I also wouldn't be so surprised if opening night Peyton Pritchard wasn't on this roster.
I agree. It's funny because, again, we signed Malcolm. We had this whole conversation about Brogdon leaving and Smart staying because the first report was that it was going to be Brogdon with the Clippers. We had this idea that we needed a guard so badly last offseason. Which we really didn't because, well, we did and we didn't. The 2022 Celtics needed a guard desperately. The 2023 Celtics didn't, if that makes sense, because we didn't know and we didn't realize that Derek White was just going to take this phenomenal leap all of a sudden and become, in my opinion, the 3rd best player on the team last year. What the jump he made was just, it took me by surprise. I'll tell you that. I mean, we were you called it. In the off-season / kind of training camp time, I remember you telling me, listen, Derek White, he's got a full off-season under his belt. He's been in Boston for some time. He finally got to move in. He was living out of a hotel in the second half of the year, or that second half of the 2022 season. Finally got established, got a house. It felt like home. Got a training camp under his belt.
His kid.
And my God, did it show, right? You had a kid, right? Oh my God, did it show. So it's like, okay, halfway through the season and we're rolling. Well, hold on. There's kind of like a conflict here with all these guards. It's because there's 3 of them and really you can only play one of them. Otherwise you're going really small, but at the same time you can play 2 of them. But what 2 do you play? then you're putting a lot of faith in a first-year head coach to kind of make the proper call, right? Okay, maybe I go Brogdon and White tonight. Damn it, it wasn't Brogdon tonight. It should have been Smart. I go Smart, but Smart kind of has that thing or that aura with him where you're not what you're going to bench Smart at the end of the game. It's like it's Marcus Smart. So it's like I think it caught as successful as it was, dude. It caused, I think, a lot of trouble that we just kind of didn't realize because Brogdon was so good and they played off each other well. And it was like, okay, well, this kind of works. I like it. It's pretty. It's nice. It makes me smile. But it's like, well, hold on. I don't think we actually needed that. I think you have a starting guard, a really good backup guard, and a pretty good third string guard in case someone goes down. The question mark lies, right? Does Peyton Pritchard, I don't think he wants to be that third string guard. I really think he's trying to go and get a 6-man role somewhere. And if that's the case, that's when I think you explore the Grant Williams market, you explore the Pritchard market, that mid-level exception. Let's talk about that, Justin. What can we do with that mid-level? Anyone out there you like, you don't know? Like, talk to me here.
First of all, there's two guys that I think would fit this team really well.
I think I know who you're going to say. I think I know one of them. Let me hear it.
One of them is Lonnie Walker the fourth. I just
didn't get that one. I didn't get that one right. I like that a lot.
I love Lonnie Walker the fourth. Second one. Oh God, this probably isn't good. I forgot his name. Alec Burks.
Okay, so I didn't get either of them right, but I also like Alec Burks. I thought you were going to say Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown is another one. Like that would probably be my third option. Bruce Brown is a guy who you can slot at the 2, you can slot at the 3. Boston native, NBA champion. He just brings you so much. He just brings you absolutely so much. I think Alec Burks just defensively is just a great guard. And then who is that? Who's the other one? Lonnie Walker the fourth. For some reason, I'm a big Lonnie Walker the fourth guy. Maybe it's because the Celtics really need a wing, but I think that he would be just a tremendous guy to go out and get. He can shoot the ball very, very well. He can space the floor. He's on the bigger side. Great defender. He's very gritty player. Those three options to me, if you were to put a wish list in front of me, those three are my options. As far as veterans, kind of stash away at the bench on the vet minimum deals, I'd love to bring back Blake. I'd also love to see if Jeff Green would want to make a return as well. I think he could still not only just provide you that leadership role, I think he could legitimately give you some minutes here and there in games. He was a huge reason as to why the Denver Nuggets were NBA champions. I mean, that he was one of those guys who was really stepping up for Denver. So, those are, I guess, my 5 guys, but who are a couple of your guys that you kind of want to see Boston go after, even if it's just free agency, even if it's not like this, using that mid-level exception?
Yeah, so it's interesting here. I love Lonnie Walker now that you say it. Great shooter, solid underrated defender.
Yeah.
I thought he's 24, turning 25 next season. I thought I'd be kind of shocked if the Lakers brought him back. I think he can get some solid money elsewhere. So I love that name. A name a couple names, right? It's interesting, right? Because you lose so much defense with Smart gone. You still have White, who's a great defender. What direction do you go for that bench spot? At guard.
Are you talking Patrick Beverley?
I'm not, but I would like Bev. What? Not what?
Who's the player you thought I was going to say? Bruce
Brown.
Oh, okay.
Bruce Brown.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, couple names here. Some are guards, some aren't guards. I'm going to run you through all of them. First name being Malik Beasley, also an LA guy. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford a Malik Beasley just because of I think he's worth a little bit more than what we can offer. I love Malik. I think we could probably get him with the mid-level if nothing else is out there. And I think he can get us 10, 11 points per game. He can play the point guard if he really, really needs to, but he's more of a 2 guard. But again, I think any guard is okay currently with the current situation. Next name I'm looking at is, call me crazy. You can but I'm gonna say it is Dylan Brooks. I do think
Boo!
I do
Boo!
think it's interested in just looking at the Dylan Brooks idea. It's not going to happen. He's going to want too much money. I'm okay with it not happening. I wouldn't hate it if it did happen. Defensively, he's solid. If we can check him offensively and have him find him a role, I think he makes up for that lack of defense you lost to Smart. And I still think he holds it down. Again, Bruce Brown Jr. is one of my guys. I would love Bruce Brown. Two guys, both guards, the two guard slots, right? One a shooting guard, one a point guard. Problem with these two names I'm about to say is that defensively, they really can't hang around phenomenally. First name, he's a restricted free agent. He has the Bulls have bird rights on him. I doubt the Bulls bring him back. Kobe White. I think Kobe White, you can get him for cheap. I think he gives you everything Peyton Pritchard gives you and a little bit more. I think he's a better. Pritchard's good, dude, and I think Pritchard hasn't been able to show what he's worth. I think Kobe White's the next best thing behind Peyton Pritchard. I think there's some aspects to his game he does better. There's some aspects Pritchard does better. I think they're interchangeable. I'd love to bring Kobe White maybe on a sign and trade with Chicago. That's a name, and then last name Seth Curry, shooter. Is a two guard, can handle the ball kindly, isn't going to play make, but in times where your guards need rest, you go to Tatum as your playmaker, and Curry can slot in at that little positionless one that we're seeing people kind of do now when your best player is just operating the game flow. I'd love to see any of those guys, all super affordable. I think all within the possibilities of coming to Boston. Also Jordan Clarkson, but I don't think we're going to be able to afford a Jordan Clarkson. Maybe he takes a mid-level. If he takes a mid-level, Brad, you've done it again.
I think Kelly Olynyk is off the things now that we got a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, essentially. But he was also a guy that we kind of had on there before the Porzingis trade happened. What else? Yeah. I think, dude, people are throwing the name Patrick Beverley out there. I mean,
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it either. I just think,
but I mean, by the way Chicago looks right now, it looks like they're gonna kind of do a run it back type of thing. So I don't know if Beverly would be on the market for us. I know. It's crazy, but it sounds like that's what's gonna happen. So I don't know if Beverly's going to be out there, but I'd do it. I would do Pat Bev on a small deal.
Pat Bev would take as well. But I think there's also just kind of, I don't think anything big again in the offseason. I think what we saw, the Porzingis is the biggest thing that we'll see. I think we'll see a lot of vet minimum guys coming in. I think we'll see a lot of, I don't know, just roster fillers. Again, I know, Fran and I are going to cover the summer league. I know that there's some guys on the summer league team that seriously, I would not mind seeing the opportunity. First
Jordan Walsh. I think you could slot Jordan Walsh in right now to the rotation. And defensively speaking, I think Jordan Walsh can hang at an NBA level. Offensively, I think his game needs some work. I really do think Arkansas screwed him over offensively and didn't use him properly. But I love we haven't talked about it. I love the Jordan Walsh pick.
This is a player where he probably would have been a first-round pick if he had not left in his freshman year.
Yep.
I think when you look at a guy like Jordan Walsh, first of all, this guy is freakishly athletic. He creates his own shot. Not the best high percentage shot, but he creates his own shot. He can get to the basket. He's very athletic. He's very quick on his feet, quick reflexes, defensively just a beast, a guy that will dive on the 50-50 balls, a guy that will not give up at the rim. He's 19 years old. We also have the luxury of not guaranteeing a contract. So that's another thing Brad Stevens did very well is, getting out of that first round. He kind of figured that Jordan Walsh would still be available at that 38th pick. So they took him in. I mean, if they don't want to keep him, they don't have to, but they could also just sign him to a two-way deal if they really wanted to. So I think that's just absolutely, I think that's huge. And you give Brad Stevens a lot of credit for drafting something the team needs, right? Not necessarily like, the best available, but like Jordan Walsh kind of is what the Celtics need after losing Marcus Smart. You're not getting the heart and soul of your team back, and you're not getting his defensive ability back right away. But at the same time, you're getting a 19-year-old guy who is strictly kind of focuses on the defensive end and is willing to give you everything he has. So I think that's a really good pickup by Brad Stevens. But again, I know you don't watch Summer League too much, but for me, I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on Jordan Walsh. I'm also going to keep my eyes on guys like J.D. Davison, guys like Justin Champagnie, Bifandu Kabanyele, guys who have had an active roster spot, who are fighting to get that active roster spot again, because those end-of-bench fillers, like, they might not seem like anything, but when you're trying to compete for a championship, Rob, you want to make sure you can trust guys 1 through 15. And I think that's going to be really important. But like you said, I really like that. I think Jordan Walsh, sneaky second-round pick. I've seen a lot of scouts and a lot of people talk about how he may be the best defender in the draft, let alone just the second round itself.
I love it. I mean, I think you got how many picks? 4 second-round picks from trading back, and you arguably got a guy that should have been gone in the first round if he was just a year older.
Right.
And you fill in a gap in which you really need, which is that defensive grit and grinder type of guy. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Sam Hauser was a second-round pick. We worked on him a little bit, right?
Hauser was undrafted.
Undrafted, you're right. He was
still.
Yeah, right? So it's like, give Walsh a year. Offensively, he needs some things to work on. He screams Robert Williams to me.
Really?
He screams a rim presence, a forward version of Robert Williams, where offensively he's a rim presence. Defensively, he's going to anchor down some defense. We'll see how good he can get. Obviously, he's, I'd love it if he could be a role player for us.
So this is a really weird comparison, but right when I saw him like around the rim and stuff, I was like, it just came to me. It was a forward version of Derek White in terms of just when Derek White is around the rim, Rob, we never expect him. I mean, I guess maybe nowadays we do, but like we never expected him to just jump up and block a shot and reject a shot. And like, I don't know, I just get that vibe from Jordan Walsh. And that's an extremely important thing to have, is not seeing that giving up on a play type of thing, right? Like type of feel. Like Jordan Walsh is the type of guy where if he's 10 feet behind you, he's still going to chase you and attempt to block you. He's not just going to, walk at half court and say, he got it in the bag, he's going to score. That's just not the type of guy we got. So again, credit to Brad Stevens. And I mean, hey, who knows, dude? Like you said, he could get slotted in right away, especially with that wing depth. Other than Sam Hauser, that wing depth is pretty slim.
Well, it'll be interesting. Maybe you slot Hauser up to the 2-guard spot now. Steer him away from that 3. He's going to be a bigger 2. So again, opportunity here. A lot of opportunity.
I feel like it gives you. Sorry, but I feel like it gives you extreme flexibility deep in the bench as well. In terms of if you need offense, you go Hauser. If you need defense, you go Walsh.
You go Walsh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be again. Me. I'm not a summer league guy unless we have a top pick. But I watch every game, mind you. It's Celtics basketball. I'm not going to turn down Celtics basketball. But it's kind of just like, I'm watching, not really to look into anything most of the year. I wasn't super high on Davidson, especially because we had just gotten Brogdon. You're thinking like, all right, there's really no world this guy is going to get worked into a rotation. I think there's a world in which Walsh gets worked into some rotational minutes, especially if Grant Williams leaves. There's a world where we could form this guy to play to be a rotation player.
There was never a more important time to watch Summer League than 3 years ago, when it was kind of that. Remember that draft? It was Grant Pritchard, Edwards, and Langford, and it was kind of like only like 2 out of the 4 were going to make the team. And like, this was like before Grant and Pritchard were like developed. So it was like, you kind of figured like, okay, this is like, big, but I don't know. I feel like Jordan Walsh got to go in there, and I feel like he has to dominate in terms of like, he doesn't have to go in and score 30, get 20 rebounds and 10 blocks. But at the same time, like, Boston trusted him with their only pick in the draft, essentially. Mm-hmm. And he has to go out there and, I don't know, he has to go out there and perform. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Again, a lot to look forward to with the Celtics. I don't think Brad Stevens is done. I think next week we're going to hop right back where we are right now. And I think we could be talking about a new player in a new situation. I mean, free agency starts the 1st. I imagine we're doing a free agency special. So you will hear from us in terms of Celtics Talk Weekly. You won't like the account. You won't hear from us on the podcast until maybe, you know what? Maybe we do a podcast right after the deadline. So, or not the deadline, the free agency. So we'll work it out. But it's like, it just shows you how fast things are moving, right? 1 second you're hearing from us, we just got booted by the Miami Heat. The next second we're talking about how Marcus Smart isn't on the Celtics. It's like, wow, crazy changes happening in Boston. But I think they're for the better. I think they're the right changes. Other than that, Justin, I got nothing. You got anything?
I don't, but just follow us on social media because we're really working hard. And our social media, our Instagram got banned in June for no reason whatsoever. So that's why usually, okay, we're going to tell you guys this because it's going to happen every season. Each year after the NBA Finals, whether we're in it or not, we usually take a 1-week break. That's when we kind of just collect ourselves, whatever, live our personal lives, like a little vacation. And then right after that, it's right back to work, summer league, free agency, trades, all that. This year was different. We took that week break. We came back, and a day later.
To another week break.
Yeah, another week break, which we had absolutely no choice to take. So, we missed 2 out of the 4 weeks in June, but we're growing constantly, and we just want to thank you so much. And, you buying the merch is supporting us enough, but you just viewing and turning on the podcast and listening or watching us is more support than we could have ever asked for. So we thank you for that.
I mean, to even think that one of you wants to listen to my voice and Justin's voice talk is just wild to me. So again, Justin nailed it. I started this idea 2 years ago, and it's slowly but surely coming together, which is crazy. Something I will say, a little inspiration, Rob, to end the podcast. If you got a dream, go for it. If you got something you love, go for it, right? Whether it's a podcast, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's becoming an agent or being an NBA player or whatever it is, right? Whatever your dream is, go for it. If you fail, you fail. The worst thing that happens is you find a new dream. But go for it, right? You're on this planet for a split second sometimes, right? You just never know. So really, if you have a passion, if you have something that you genuinely love, make it your career. Have fun with it, right? Like, this is something I can definitely say for me and definitely for Justin. We enjoy this. This is fun, right? We're trying to make this our job, but it's never going to feel like a job because we enjoy it so much. So a little inspiration for you guys right there, right? Because if you got a dream, chase it. I promise you, if you keep chasing it, if you stay the course, if you're consistent, if you're and consistency is something we struggle with for sure. If you're consistent and you put your head down and you just go, it's going to work, dude. So again, thank you guys all for the support. 7,000 is crazy. 7K to think that you guys, is just wild.
We're almost to 7.1K. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. So we really do. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're not following us on all the social medias, go follow us on all of our social medias. Go check out the merch. Till next time, guys, go C's.